Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's webinar entitled Exploring Other Areas of Learning in Junior Cycle. My name is Paul Kelly, Whole School Advisor for the Northeast region and seconded from Benevin de la Salle College in Finglas, where I'm an English and History teacher. I'm joined this evening by our Deputy Director for Junior Cycle for Teachers, Donal O'Mahony. I'd first of all like to draw your attention to the right-hand side of your screen, depending on what device you are using, where there is a handout section for today's webinar. There you could find the download section where we have one document entitled Key Documents. If you download that, you will find links to 4 key documents that we'll be using throughout today's webinar. You'll also find a second document there entitled Reporting on Other Areas of Learning for the Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement. And again, that document will also be there, a resource we'll be using in today's webinar. So the purpose of our webinar tonight, and indeed our learning intentions, firstly, we're hoping to explore the nature of learning that is reported on in the Other Areas of Learning section of the Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement. We're also hoping to consider the use of language of learning when creating the Other Areas of Learning section of the JCPA. And we're also hoping to explore evidence of best practice as to how schools gather and store information relating to students' other areas of learning. We are also looking forward to hearing directly from schools tonight from right across the country about their experiences of engaging with other areas of learning section. And again, we're particularly looking forward to listening and hearing from schools like Beach Hill College in Monaghan, Sacred Heart Secondary School in Drogheda, St Peter's at Dunboyne, and St Vincent Secondary School in Cork. So again, just thanks to those schools who have participated in gathering some information and recording their journey in terms of their engagement with other areas of learning. So our key documents for tonight's webinar, and which are indeed contained in your handouts there, is the Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement, the JCPA Handbook for Schools. That is the November 2018 issue. So again, in the handout there is a link to that document, which will be one of our key documents this evening. We're also going to be referencing the ongoing reporting for effective teaching and learning booklet from the NCCA. A third document again is the latest circular relating to Junior Cycle, Circular 79/2018. And then finally, we have a document on a guide for PPOD users relating to the Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement. And again, as I said, all 4 key documents have a link in the handout section. So we know as part of the framework for Junior Cycle 2015, the reporting process at Junior Cycle culminates in the award of the JCPA to students. The JCPA was awarded for the first time to students who completed their junior cycle in 2017. So 2018 was the second year in which the JCPAs were produced. The schools will be required to print out the JCPA for each student. So what will be reported on the Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement? The JCPA captures student achievements in a number of assessment elements undertaken over the 3 years of junior cycle, including the students' achievements in the state certified final examinations, inclusive of the assessment task, the students' achievements in level 2 learning programs, commonly known as L2LPs, were relevant, and in time achievements in level 1 learning programs, or the L1LP program. And you can see that reference there on your screen with the state certified final examinations. Also on the JCPA, the students' achievements in the classroom-based assessment in subjects and short courses were relevant. So in the particular example that's on screen at the moment, you can see the classroom-based assessments for English with the name of this classroom-based assessment along with the descriptor. So again, as subjects are rolled out, we have the titles of the CBAs will appear on the Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement. So possible CBA examples include in history, where you will have the past and my place classroom-based assessment, in geography, entitled Geography in the News, and in science, which is Science and Society and Investigation. Again, the classroom-based assessments will all appear on the Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement. The third area of the JCPA is the students' achievement in the other areas of learning, which will be the focus of our webinar tonight. There are some key points to remember about the JCPA. The JCPA is a school-based document where the school crest and signatures of principal and year head will appear on the JCPA document. So any student currently in sixth year will be any student currently in sixth class will be the first cohort to receive a complete JCPA. Therefore, it will not be until September 2022 before the JCPA fully reflects all subject specifications. Until 2022, it will be in hybrid form. It's also important to reference the new arrangements for reporting. So the new arrangements for reporting place a significant focus on the relationship between students, teachers and parents as a means of improving learning. The National Council for Curriculum and Assessment have published guidelines for schools. This booklet is intended for use by teachers, the school management team and the facilitator of the school's discussion and reflection on its current and future reporting practice. The new arrangements for reporting place a significant focus on the relationship between students, teachers and parents as a means of improving learning, as we've mentioned. In the context of this triangular partnership, parents as the first teachers are valued as having a key role in the learning process. We also see on this slide that reporting in junior cycle can encompass a wide variety of areas, including the school exam, classroom-based assessments, teacher comments, reporting on well-being in junior cycle, other areas of learning which will be the focus of tonight's webinar, attendance and timekeeping, student effort, special achievement, student reflection and summary comment. So in the booklet produced by the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, there are 8 guiding principles of reporting in junior cycle. The first guiding principle of reporting is to encourage authentic engagement with parents, to provide opportunities for students to feedback, to reflect, to value the professional judgment of teachers, to use the language of learning. It must be manageable, clearly communicates student learning, provide information on a broad range of achievement, and take an inclusive approach. So the reporting arrangements outlined in these guidelines in the accompanying booklet outline opportunities for schools to support parents' engagement with student learning. So what kind of learning is reported in the other areas of learning section? And in this instance, I'll quote directly from Circular 79/2018. And in that circular, it states that the arrangements for implementation of the framework for junior cycle states that students may engage in other learning activities set out in a school's programme for junior cycle. These can include social, cultural, pastoral, scientific, entrepreneurial and other activities that can support the 24 statements of learning and the 8 key skills. The junior cycle programme must include guidance education. Some schools will also provide students with a course in religious instruction reflective of their own characteristic spirit as part of a junior cycle programme. Schools will have considerable flexibility in deciding what information they wish to include on this section of the JCPA. So what kind of learning is reported in the other areas of learning section? The following are some suggestions that a school can consider when deciding what kind of learning is reported on in the other areas of learning section. In the other areas of learning free text section of the JCPA, the school has flexibility to report on other learning experiences and events that a student has participated in during curricular, co-curricular and extracurricular aspects of the junior cycle programme in school. Student engagement with co-curricular or extracurricular activities offered by the school, such as engaging in a science fair, participation in the school's sporting activities or debating. Specific learning opportunities that do not form part of subjects or short courses, for example, leadership training, activities related to guidance, membership of school clubs or societies, membership of their school's student council. So in this section of the JCPA, the school may also include references to student engagement in learning experiences that form part of the formal timetable curriculum, but that are not reported on in other sections of the JCPA. So for example, engagement with a school's own religious education programme, engagement with elements of the physical education, SPHE, social, personal and health education, curriculum and CSPE. In addition, schools may also refer in this section to students' participation in short courses or subjects where the student has not completed the formal assessments and no descriptor has been awarded. So in all of those instances, the learning can be recorded in the other areas of learning section. So again, for example, students who transfer to a different setting where the subject or short course is not available, or students who for some reason do not complete the CBAs or final examination. So there on the screen, we have again that co-curricular element, membership of school clubs or societies, other learning experiences, and again the last one there, attendance, personal and social development and learning dispositions. So how many other areas of learning references need to be made on the junior cycle profile of achievement? It is recommended that a school includes between 3 to 5 references to other areas of learning in this section for each student. This section of the JCPA has a limit of 150 words or 760 characters, depending on the font size, font type, and the layout used. Bullet points will take up more space. It should focus on recognised learning achieved, skills, knowledge, values, rather than activities. This should be borne in mind when decisions are made as to what to include. And again, that's probably a key point, that the focus should be on the recognised learning achieved as opposed to a list of activities that the student is engaged in. So what's going to follow is a number of suggested approaches and sources of the language for writing and gathering the other areas of learning. So we're going to look at 3 possible approaches when writing up your other areas of learning. So the first approach we're going to take is by looking at the key skills approach. So using the language of key skills and their elements when creating the other areas of learning statement. So we're going to take one key skill, which is working with others. And here you can see alongside the key skill is the elements within that key skill. So developing good relationships and dealing with conflict, cooperating, respecting differences, contributing to making the world a better place, learning with others, and working with others through digital technology. So an example here of an OAL would be, again, the student's name, took part in the school show and learned to work with others, express himself and build his communication skills. Another example might be that the student's name was a member of the school's junior basketball team, where he committed to team training and competitions and developed his tactical competencies and skills. Again, looking at another key skill with the elements, we see being creative, and the elements here are imagining, exploring options and alternatives, implementing ideas and taking action, learning creatively, and stimulating creatively using digital technology. And again here, the example given is that a student entered the local sci-fi competition and developed his investigative research and problem-solving skills. Sci-Fest competition, sorry. So that is one approach to take. The second approach we're going to look at now is by looking at the well-being indicators approach. So here we have using the language of the wellbeing indicators to create other areas of learning statements. And as we know, there are now 6 indicators of wellbeing within the wellbeing programme. We talk about being connected, aware, resilient, respected, active and responsible. So if we just look at the first 3, we can see how these are broken down. We talk about being active and the questions that are posed here. Am I confident, skilled participant in physical activity? How physically active am I? Am I responsible? Do I take action to protect and promote my well-being, that of others? Do I make healthy eating choices? Do I know where my safety is at risk, and do I make the right choices? Connected. Do I feel connected to my schools, friends, community and wider world? Do I appreciate that my actions and interactions impact on my own well-being and that of others in local and global contexts? So these can be good questions to raise with students in order for them to reflect on their own learning. And again, an example might be here. Again, the student's name: took action to promote the well-being of others by working with the school's healthy eating committee. And again, we'll look at the other 3 indicators of well-being. We'll look at resilience. Do I believe that I have the coping skills to deal with life challenges? Do I believe that with effort I can achieve? Do I know where I can go for help? Respected. Do I feel that I'm listened to and valued? Do I show care and respect for others? And then aware. Am I aware of my thoughts, feelings and behaviours, and can I make sense of them? So an example here of a statement would be, again, the student's name, it's in the 3rd person here. The student demonstrated care for others through his membership of the Student Council, where he represented the voice of his class and committed to attending weekly meetings. So again, maybe a few more examples that we have here. The student's name completed a CPR course. She learned the actions to take in an emergency and behaviour expected of a responsible citizen. So perhaps it's an opportunity for us to reflect on what activities could be included here in the other areas of learning, and how do we get students to reflect on actually that the learning is taking place as part of these, engaging in these activities. So our 3rd and final approach that we're going to look at, a possible approach, is by looking at the statements of learning. Okay, so using the statements of learning to create the other areas of learning statements. So here we have an example of the first 2 statements of learning, that the student communicates effectively using a variety of means in a range of contexts in their chosen language or their first language. And then the second one, that the student listens, speaks, reads and writes in L2 and 1 other language at a level of proficiency that is appropriate to his or her ability. So we can see here an example might be that the student, through her role as a class prefect, learned to communicate effectively as a voice for the students in her class. Again, our next example here of the statements of learning, we have 22, that the student takes initiative, is innovative and develops entrepreneurial skills, that the student brings an idea from conception to realization. And again, there's another one here, the final one, that the student uses technology and digital media tools to learn, communicate, work and think collaboratively and creatively in a responsible and ethical manner. So again, an example of a statement that we have there is that the student participated in the local authority competition, where she developed creative ways to recycle plastic. In doing so, she learned to bring an idea from conception to realization. And I think for that example there, we can all think of other competitions and local activities that really, schools could apply there and utilize those opportunities. Okay, so what we are going to do now, as I said previously, we have been lucky enough to capture the journey that a lot of schools have been on in relation to collecting information around other areas of learning. And a few weeks ago, we put out the call for schools maybe to come and to record their thoughts and honest reflections on the journey so far. And we just again like to thank the schools, Beach Hill College, Sacred Heart Secondary School in Drogheda, and St. Peter's in Dunboyne, as well as St Vincent Secondary School in Cork, for agreeing, first of all, to appear on camera and just to give an honest, to engage in an honest conversation about their journey with the other areas of learning. So hopefully, we're just going to transfer you now and watch a short video of the schools. And again, if you can just bear with us, we'll try and get that up and running for you now.
My name is Caroline Sheelan. I'm a teacher in the Sacred Heart School in Drogheda. I teach home economics and religion, and I'm also one of the junior cycle coordinators. We started 2 years ago when the first group of third years would have been receiving their JCPA that autumn. So we met with them in third year and we gave them the first part of the process, I suppose, a sheet which we asked them to fill in, bring it home, discuss with their parents the various things that they'd been involved with over the 3 years. So really they had to stop and kind of look back over the 3 years and try and recall all the activities they had been involved in, and basically fill the part 1 form in on that. Next step then, we gave them a part 2 form that they had to go home and, from looking back over everything they had done so far, identify 5 areas they would like to see on their JCPA and write up a little bit about what they were involved in and what learning came about because of that. So we gave them the statements of learning and the key skills, and we asked them could they link the learning that they had from the activity they were involved with, the actual statements and key skills as well. We found that it did work very well, but in terms of us collecting the information and being able to use it, we asked them to type up their 5 statements and send them to us. We did give them a number or a word limit, word count, and we asked them to type it and send it to us, but then it took an awful lot of time on our side for to go through each one of the students and identify any grammar or spelling mistakes that were there, or in some cases to shorten them down, because they were very enthusiastic, they loved the process and they wanted to write all about it. So for to narrow it down so that it would fit on the JCPA was one of our biggest challenges. As a result then, we have changed the process slightly. We still have the part 1 that they take home and discuss with their parents and fill out. And then when that process is complete, we send them a link on Office 365 to a form, and they're invited to complete that form then based on the information they've given on part 1, reflecting on the learning that has taken place over the 3 years. They choose the statements that suit them best. So we basically have written up approximately 30 statements from looking over the last 2 years of OALs that we had collected. We looked to see what were the common activities that students were taking place in the school, and we came up with a bank of statements that links in again with the statements of learning and the key skills and shows the learning that they would have from those. And they can choose up to 5 of those, or if what they would like to express is not already there, there is an option for to add in their own ones also.
Paul, my name is Sandra Hill. I'm a home economics teacher here in St Peter's College in Dunboyne, County Meath, and I'm the junior cycle coordinator here in Dunboyne. The school here is very, very large. You've over 200 students in any year group, so it was a colossal job to collect that amount of other areas of learning from students. In the past, we would have, the school would have asked students to handwrite them to type up a Word document, and that would have been emailed to the junior cycle coordinator, where she would have edited it individually on an individual basis, which was a huge amount of work on her part. Here in St Peter's, we have a super group of tutors in third year, and they worked with me helping to get the students to create the other areas of learning and to develop them and help them with the wording and the grammar. The tutors in the tutor class helped them to write up the other areas of learning, to check spelling, grammar. They got parents involved by writing notes in the diary home to check that parents read the other areas of learning, because this is a lifelong document and you want the grammar, you want the spelling and etc. to be perfect in it.
So we decided to use the language of learning, which is the key skills and the wellbeing indicators, and we made a template for goal setting. And into the school journal now will be 2 pages, one describing the key skills and the wellbeing indicators, and the second one is template for setting the goals, and I'll just go through that. So September goal setting, there's a question: what are the 3 activities I wish to engage in, and what do I hope to learn from these? The elements of the 8 key skills, as well as the well-being indicators on the previous page, may assist you in setting goals, and there's space for the child to fill in their goals. Okay, and there's a place for a student signature and parent signature. So this process is bringing in the home and parental input. Then in December, January, there's a check-in, and the question is, what has been my best achievement to date on the above and why? So it's getting the child to reflect on what they've been doing. What area have I to work further on? How can I do that? Do I wish to refine a goal based on my learning? Which one and how? And again, there's student signature and parent signature. Then in March or April, there's time for reflection. What are the 3 aspects of learning from participation in the above activities that I am most proud of? And there's space for 3 statements. And at the end of the page, it says, this is your final chance to refine these statements. Reflect with your parents or your classmates, as these words will appear on your final report. And there's room for the 3 statements, and again, to be signed by students and parents. It means that when the child does this in first year, in second year and third year, as they move through it, they are becoming more familiar with the words, and they are refining their use of language and improving their understanding. So by third year, they are in a position to really write this statement by themselves using their knowledge from each of the 3 years. So we also found that it motivates the students because it's out in the open, it's been seen, and they're talking about what they're doing, so it's generating interest for other students. And we thought that for schools as a PR movement, it's very, very good because parents are discussing with their children at home what they're doing, and they are seeing activities that maybe they hadn't thought of before.
Hello, I'm Siobhan Sheeran. I'm the Deputy Principal in Beach Hill College in Monaghan. Management in Beach Hill College were really delighted that OALs were considered to be such an important part of the JCPA. So we really wanted to streamline the process, and we wanted to facilitate that our junior cycle coordinator was given the time to interview all our students on their OALs. We also have introduced a new page into our journal this year where the students will record their OALs, and each year from first year this page will be removed from their journals and given to their year head. So when it comes around to third year, they'll have a lot of valuable OAL activity recorded for themselves, because you know yourself, the pupils get involved in so many activities, they may forget something really important that they were involved in first year. My advice would be to be positive about it. It's definitely an area where students who may not succeed in academic subjects can be really, really proud of 5 other areas of learning that they have on their JCPA. And I think that's something that we really should embrace.
Okay, and thank you once again to those schools for participating again. And what was noticeable from chatting to all the schools and junior cycle coordinators and management throughout the schools, that there's a number of things that, you know, whereas previously I think we were trying to schools were trying to get this process, get used to the idea of collecting the data and the means and the best ways. You've seen some examples of some schools using tutor systems. In certain schools that you saw there in Beach Hill, they had interviews. Now, in a case that's not going to be practical for a lot of schools to organise that amount of interviews. So again, this is just an ongoing process, and what was evidence is just that schools are in the space where we're actually engaging and reflecting on what is best practice in this area. And again, also what is interesting, schools moving from maybe reflecting to actually goal setting from first year and second year and third year. I think a lot of the junior cycle coordinators felt that they had quite a lot of work to get through maybe in third year, going through all the statements, and that going forward that maybe was not feasible or practical. We have a finite amount of time, and there had to be look for a better way maybe as to how to engage with other areas of learning and making the process sustainable going forward. We are just going to the question and answer session part of the evening, and I'm just going to hand you over to Donald Mahoney, who's going to take you through a few of the questions that have come in throughout the course of the evening.
Okay, good evening, everyone. There haven't been too many questions, in fact, and a lot of the questions are around the L2 LPs, the Level 2 learning programs, and the JCPA. And in terms of, we have a booklet called the JCAD, the Junior Cycle Award Database Booklet, and that explains to schools how to actually upload your priority learning units to the JCPA. And the teachers who requested the link to that this evening, we've made that link available to them. But if you search our website, jct.ie, with JCAD, you will get the link. You will get the link, in fact, to that booklet. In terms of the other areas of learning, it's a very inclusive approach. It's the same for every student in the country, level 1, level 2, level 3, as to how you might approach, and there's great flexibility as to how you might approach the other areas of learning. Certainly, I mean, from hearing from Paul and just reflecting, and not to repeat too much, but schools are striving to make them manageable. And over the next number of years, we think that we'll get experience, we'll get examples of the manageability, and we may well run this webinar again around November, and we will have some further feedback at that stage. One of the things that was quite clear as well in listening to the teachers from the 4 schools there was that some of them are using it as an opportunity to engage with parents. And again, that's very much part of the approach of the junior cycle, that communication with parents. And again, it's giving the students themselves the opportunity over the 3 years. You heard the use of school journals there. Students have the opportunity to reflect, and sometimes in some cases it's actually to remember what they did in first and second year, but to reflect on that, and in their other areas of learning, to actually reflect on the learning through their activity, through the myriad of activities that take place out in the school itself. We've given you tonight 3 opportunities in terms of using the language of learning, the indicators of well-being, the statements of learning, and the elements of the key skills. One teacher was explaining to me during the week how in her school they were creating a word cloud of verbs and phrases that students could pull from over their 3 years of junior cycle, getting them used to this new vocabulary. So that is yet another possibility. But in terms of questions, there weren't too many tonight, so I think Paul has been very clear in what he has said, and I'll just leave it at Paul now to bring this piece to a conclusion. Thank you.
Thanks, Donald. And again, just on screen there, if there are any questions relating to the JCPA, again, the email address that you see there, the help desk, again, very helpful in answering any questions that you have. And it's just left to me just to thank you all for attending today. I do just want to, again, just reiterate my thanks to all of the teachers, some of whom were recorded and you didn't hear from this evening, but we just had time constraints on the video. This is a resource that we hope to get up on the website over the next few weeks. And also, again, the final document there, just the document reporting on other areas of learning. I'd just like to acknowledge the work of Emma White and our Deputy Director, Owen Everson, in putting that document together. So again, thank you for that. So again, thanks one and all for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you.